Welcome to Spotlight. Tonight, the threat from cybercrime, a warning the Southwest is too complacent. The man in charge of the National Cybercrime Unit has told Spotlight the region needs to do more to protect itself.
If criminals are targeting your .co.uk email address, for example, then they're not to know that you're in Devon or Cornwall. You could be anywhere. They know you're in the UK, but that's probably all they know. So it's no respecter of geography, unfortunately.
Hello, also tonight, bathing 4 children in a sink. One mother reveals serious teething problems with a revolutionary heating system in a new Devon town.
On track for a major overhaul, Plymouth stations to benefit from funding to boost the economy, but there's disappointment in Cornwall.
And famous for Spotlight and the Antiques Roadshow, Hugh Scully's own collection is up for auction.
The Southwest is complacent when it comes to the threat from computer crime. That's the warning from the head of the UK's Cybercrime Unit. Mike Hewlett was speaking at a major conference in Plymouth, where local businesses were told the dangers need to be taken more seriously. More than £3 million was lost to internet fraud in just 6 months last year, with more than 1,700 incidents of hacking. People's ordinary bank accounts are also being targeted. Well, in a moment, we'll hear from the man leading the fight against online crime. But first, this report from Scott Bingham.
From breaking into your car to breaking into your computer, crime is changing, with ever more cyber attacks being reported. If businesses are hacked, they can lose all their information, with demands for ransoms to get the data back running into thousands of pounds. And the Southwest is said to be leaving itself vulnerable as a digital world brings attackers with big city expertise. Bank and credit card fraud means no one is immune. Here at the Cybercrime Conference, they're trying to give businesses and the public sector the skills they need to defend themselves from cyber attacks.
Very much like health and safety, you get the wrong advice, you could put your organisation in a real bad place. And just like any other industry, you get the outcomes where you say you will get advisors that won't tell you the right thing, and you'll feel like you're protected. And that's one of the key things, is to understand that advice is advice, doesn't always mean it's good.
This is the Hack Shack, where all day a series of workshops are taking place to demonstrate just the kind of cyber attacks we might fall prey to. Behind me, a live real-time map showing cyber threats all over the world. We can see the United States, China, countries all over the globe there. And some of the things they can do here, they're demonstrating how easy it is to crack a password on your wireless router. And they're also sending out test phishing emails to see how many people fall for it. Whilst the focus is frequently on technology, many experts say we humans are often the weakness in the defences.
Attackers can take advantage of human behaviour so much easier than they can maybe carry out an attack via technology. So a lot of this is about understanding the threat, and it's about how we actually behave online.
And none of us is immune to the threat. One speaker today said, even if you live in a quiet countryside village, once you go online, you're never far from a dark alleyway. Something to bear in mind, perhaps. Scott Bingham, BBC Spotlight, Plymouth.
Well, as I mentioned, Mike Hewlett is the head of operations at the National Cybercrime Unit. I met him during today's conference in Plymouth and asked him what proportion of crime is now online.
Almost half of all recorded crime now is related to cyber in some way, so whether that's by a cyber offence or whether that's by some kind of cyber-enabled fraud. That's almost half of all recorded crime now is involving cyber and the internet in some way.
Is there a danger, do you think, are you witnessing the fact that because people think, well, I'm in the southwest or I'm in the northeast or somewhere remote and rural away from a big metropolitan area, that I am less vulnerable to this? Is there that sort of almost complacency towards it in some places like the southwest?
Complacency is exactly the word that I was going to use, and I don't mean to sound harsh to people that may be victims of cybercrime, but it can feel that if you live in a nice area of the country such as this, where statistically you probably are less likely to be a victim of certain types of crime, if you're connected to the internet, then you're connected to the rest of the world, and that's a fact, unfortunately. So if criminals are targeting your .co.uk email address, for example, then they're not to know that you're in Devon or Cornwall. You could be anywhere. They know you're in the UK, but that's probably all they know. So it's no respecter of geography, unfortunately.
It seems very easy to become a victim of cybercrime. One click on an inappropriate email and you could be a victim. What are the key things people need to do to protect themselves, to be aware of, so that they don't fall victim?
Okay. There's a number of things that people can do. Unfortunately, the fraudsters and the cyber criminals are very smart. We've seen them evolve over the last few years, so some of their campaigns are much more targeted. It's not necessarily the shotgun approach that's been seen in the past, but there are things that individuals can do to help themselves. So the first thing I would say is make sure that that you use some antivirus software on your computer. There's lots of companies out there who, for a relatively small amount of money, will provide an antivirus product. Every time you get an email through from your computer company saying please update, there's a reason for that. It's probably because there's been a security flaw identified somewhere in the system that the company has patched for you. If you don't download that update, then you're potentially vulnerable to that flaw.
If we're the victim of a burglary or a physical assault, we know to turn to the police. Who do we turn to if we're the victim of cybercrime?
Okay, the central reporting point for all cybercrime is Action Fraud. The website for that is www.actionfraud.police.uk. Having that central point as well can help to spot some themes and trends. So if you've received an email and you've been a victim of crime locally here in the southwest, the strong chance is that that same thing has happened to somebody else around the country. And by having that central point where people can report into, it helps us spot trends and maybe deal with the bigger organised crime gangs that are behind some of these scams.
Okay, Mike Hewlett, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you.